We're standing in front of my market style garden rows that I did the no dig method on earlier this spring. And one of the reasons that I haven't shown you guys this space is because of how much I'm struggling with grass. In my other no dig areas, they don't have a super old hay field next to them, and I'm struggling with the spreading, is it called crabgrass maybe, that is just kind of taking over my beds. So honestly, it's a little bit embarrassing how much grass I'm growing, but I wanted to show you guys some of the things I have going on. It's kind of random, but there are some pretty things happening. So I'll take you in for a closer look, and you can see how well I'm growing grass, but also hopefully notice a couple other things as well. So we're starting off at the end of my first 50-foot row, and what I've done here is I've put up a cattle panel trellis, and I'm using it to grow cucumbers, squash, and then also I will lash my tomatoes to it when they get bigger. First up, I have a couple of tomatoes along the edges. I have some cucumbers. This is a winter squash from MI Gardener. I'll look up the name of it. I'm really hoping that it comes to fruition before the squash bugs get it. You can see there's a tomato here, a tomato there, another tomato in all my grass. I also planted a whole bunch of bush beans all along this row to kind of help hopefully fight the grass, but also to give me a crop while I'm waiting to put more flowers in. There's a tomato here, another tomato, some more bush beans, and you can see that my bush beans are just starting to bloom, so I'll have a whole bunch of beans soon. Because they are not the climbing variety, they don't need a trellis. Here I have some Sweet Annie. There's another Sweet Annie. And I also have a bunch of eucalyptus in here. And it's just starting to outcompete the grass. We're getting some rain, so it looks like it's happy. I also went ahead and put more veggies in here. You can see that I have some zucchini and I have a little bit of fruit on, and there's okra that I also planted. Here in Northwest Arkansas, I find that it does not take long for the squash bugs to come on in the heat, and my plan is just to harvest as much as I can from these couple of zucchini plants, and then when they get overcome with squash bugs, to just pull them out. I don't spray with anything, I don't use any pesticides or anything in my garden, so it's best for me to go ahead and have another crop ready. And when I pull out my squash, my okra will come up from underneath, and those really like the heat. So if you're planting okra and you haven't gotten them in the ground yet, it's not too late. They do really well with the heat in the later summer, so you could go ahead and start those from seed still, as well as squash. You can also succession sow your squash, and that's my plan. So I'll just sow them somewhere else a little further down. You can see these beans are looking nice. I have my first crop of snapdragons that I planted out in the field is still blooming, looking really beautiful. Next up, I had some spare marigold seeds, so I went ahead and planted some of those. So they're kind of interspersed here in the grass. And then I also have some basil, you can see. My basil is doing really well down here, and it's starting to go to seed, but I don't mind, I'll still cut it that way. I have, this is lemon basil that smells so delicious and citrusy. And then this is, I believe, Red Freddy Genovese basil that I got from Baker Creek. Alright, if I step over, you can't really tell, there is a grass pathway in the middle of my rows. Kind of hard to see. Down in here I have some of my spring crops like lettuces, that is winter choy I need to deal with that has gotten overgrown, some cabbage, some kale, And we're starting to get to my zinnias. So these are some of my first blooming zinnias. This might be my cactus mix. I kind of planted everything all together, so when it starts really blooming, I'll let you guys know what each of these things are. And I also want to do like a comparison of each of the varieties of things I'm growing so that you can see what I like the most. This right now is my favorite sunflower. It's the White Night, I believe, or White Light. I'll look it up and let you guys know. It's just starting to open here, but it is just so beautiful. I'm a huge fan. My goal was to succession sow my sunflowers every couple of weeks, but I kind of fell off the wagon, so I have a bunch of beautiful ones right here, but I need to work on sowing some more. This zinnia is lovely. I don't usually go for like super bright colors, but I'm a fan of this red. It's not too red, and I like that it is a more of like an orangey red. I feel like that will blend better with some of my colors that I have. This is a branching sunflower, and I'll look up the name for you guys. It might be Pro-Cut Horizon. We'll see, but you can see that there's kind of like one larger one, and right here is where I cut the main stem. Was pretty large, but then it's branching from there. Again, you can see that we are right next to the hayfield next door. Barbed wire is all that separates us, so there are plenty of weeds growing through the fence, but I don't want to spray them or anything, so we're just, I don't know, trying to coexist with them, I guess. Next up is my Floret Celosia, and this is the green one. Is it Limoncello maybe? Limonada? I'll look it up for you guys. I've got 7 or 8 of them in here. And here are my Floret zinnias. You can see that they're just really pretty kind of blushy pastel colors. I'm super excited for more of them to bloom. Again, I have a bunch of different zinnias happening, so I'll tell you guys and kind of compare them for you. But from here until the end of our row is all of my dahlias. So this first bunch, there's about 18 of them in here. You can see them peeking up out of the grass. Those are my Floret dahlias that I started this year from seed. And I'm especially excited for this guy to bloom because it is inches taller than everybody else. So if it is a nice bloom, that would be awesome because it's really vigorous. You can see that some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger. Some of them are a true green. This one leans a little bit more purpley toned. So they are all throughout here. And I'm super excited for these to bloom for me. And my goal with the seeds is just to find some that I really like. And if I like them, I'll save them. And if I don't, that's fine. The bees will love them. One thing I also noticed, these last 3 are ones that I got from bare root, and I've read online and heard that you can use bare root and seeds kind of interchangeably for growth, that like if you start from seed it won't be too far delayed from bare root, and I'm finding that that's pretty true. The bare root ones started off stronger at first, but the seedlings are catching up, especially that larger seedling down there is about the same size as my bare root dahlias at this point. And the bare roots that I put on the south side of my house are looking really good, but these ones here are further behind, and I don't know if that's because they have less light or they're competing with the grass or what, but I did fertilize them recently. But unfortunately, one of them, this guy, has just not ever looked very good. So I don't know if it's gonna do anything. In fact, this seed dahlia that I started after is looking a whole lot better than its wilty friend here. So I don't know if that was just a diseased dahlia that I received or if it just is not liking it. I don't know. Everybody else looks fine. And then I also have, if you look real close, tucked in here, it's a little buggy, is this mahogany splendor hibiscus. This is a non-blooming hibiscus that is used specifically for foliage, and I find if you cut it when it is too warm, it will wilt pretty bad, but you could always boil the ends, and I find after soaking overnight, you'll know which ones have rehydrated and which ones won't. So I'm going ahead and growing a little bit of that. I grew it last year, and I'm hopeful to use that. One thing is it does lean a little bit more like burgundy orangey than like purpley red, so it might be a little harder to use in arrangements, but I'm hoping to make some videos about how I use it. And it doesn't look like a ton yet, but these will get massive. Mine grew at least 4 if not 5 feet tall last year, and I cut a whole bunch of stems on each plant. While we're over here, I'll show you, we also have a bunch of wild honeysuckle on our fence. It is just taking over. So again, we're just trying to grow what we can, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It is beautiful looking out at this honeysuckle and these crazy weeds that pop up along the fence. I don't mind. I don't need everything to be super neat, but it is a beautiful view from our house. There you have a quick update from my market style rows that are full of grass but also have some beautiful things growing. I hope that it's an encouragement to you that if things aren't perfect, it's okay. The goal is just to grow a little bit more each time.